Hello, I'm Dr. Neil Renaud, optometrist at Eagle Eye Performance Vision, where we specialize in vision therapy. And today's video is all about classroom accommodations and how to help those students with learning-related vision problems. And before we get started, make sure to hit subscribe, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and let's get started. So classroom accommodations for learning-related vision problems. These adjustments don't necessarily need an IEP, an individualized education plan, but they can, and you can apply for that. You also can just communicate with your teacher about these adjustments to a classroom. And classroom accommodations are meant as a short-term, non-permanent solution, while vision therapy fixes the vision problems that we're accommodating for. As the student doesn't have those visual dysfunctions anymore, then we don't need accommodations. So lots of parents are nervous about having permanent labels on their child. These labels or accommodations, they are only there until the problem is fixed. Once the visual skills are properly developed and the child can read more comfortably without discomfort and frustration, then we don't need to accommodate so much for them. So these are non-permanent. They work great on day one, right as the problems are diagnosed, and then as they're treated, then the accommodations can be relaxed and removed over time. I'm going to go through some adjustments we can make in a child's academic environment, whether it is in school, at home, virtual learning, homeschool, different ways that we can make it easier on their eyes during learning time. So the first tool that I recommend is a slant board. This is one of my favorites. You can set it up at a desk, prop it here, and then the student can be reading on a slant board, they can be writing on a slant board, and the benefit is they get a perpendicular visual angle. They are looking straight at the paper instead of at an angle. So something that's propped up to 20 to 25 degrees, you can find a slant board really easily, or even have the student reading on a binder that's tilted up. That works as well, so that their eyes are looking directly at the page. They can have a little better depth perception, they can see the page clearer and more single vision, more functional vision as well. If possible, I also like the student to be sitting towards the front and the center of the classroom. So they are transitioning at a very short distance. Their eyes, when they change their focus near, far during note taking, it can be a shorter distance and a direct angle. Another thing is consider reducing the amounts of homework given to the child. If they are taking hours and hours and hours to do 20 minutes worth of homework, then that leads to lots of frustration, lots of tears, and they're beginning to resent schoolwork sometimes because of their vision. So you could think about giving the same quality of questions, just less of them, so it takes less time to get through the material. Along those lines, giving more time to complete tests or less questions to complete the test could be beneficial while still not compromising the educational value of that test. Another great accommodation is shooting for every 20 minutes or so at least. Have the child get up out of their seat, move around, look far away and relax their eyes. Even if they can be playing catch with a beanbag or bouncing a tennis ball or something for some motor movement. Get up and move because their eyes are struggling with sustained near vision, and having them relax their eyes by looking far away every 20 minutes or so for at least 20 seconds can increase their stamina so they can get through the day without having a headache or a really severe headache. They may be able to get through homework easier because they still have more energy by the time they get home from school. I also encourage eye contact with that student who's struggling to keep track of what the teacher is saying, and even chunking up instructions into pieces can be helpful for them. Lots of kids we work with have really poor visual memory and visual processing speed, so if you can break up your instructions and give them a second to make sense of what you said, then they can be ready to move on to the next instruction. I also want to promote a good viewing distance and posture. We have something called the Harmon Distance, where a child, while they're reading, should be able to fit their elbow on the table and then their fist underneath their chin. This is a good distance where I'm close enough that I can see that small font clearly, but I'm not so close that it can wear my eyes out and I'm not working too hard. We all see kids who hold reading material way too close and get really close to the screen or to the page, and that's helpful in the moment because the closer things are, the more magnified they are, the bigger they are, the easier it is to see it. However, the catch-22 is, remember, the closer things are that we're looking at, the more our eyes have to work to get it clear and single. We can also encourage using a finger while they're reading to keep their place on the page, pointing at the word that they're on. And eventually we want to work our way out of that, but while the child has a visual dysfunction causing them to struggle with keeping their place on the page, giving themselves a visual target and a visual placeholder can be helpful. And I like using a finger better than a bookmark or highlighter things, or those little filters, things like that. because they get their sense of touch is involved, that tactile awareness of where the page is. We're adding a sense to help out another sense. My vision is not working well enough, so my finger is going to help my vision and know exactly where the page is with my depth perception. It's going to help me track and keep my place on the page and not bounce my eyes all over, because my sense of touch is guiding my eyes a little bit. We're compensating for now while we try to fix the problem with their eyes as we move along. For a student with poor functional visual skills, oftentimes they can be very visually distracted, so trouble with visual attention. So in the classroom, it can be ideal to reduce a lot of the visual noise, so lots of color and posters and things that can be very exciting and fun to have in a classroom. Potentially we could reduce all of the extra visual information around the room to help the student stay a little bit more locked in with their visual focus. And that can be in the classroom, it can be in reading resource rooms, it can be in study rooms, it can be in your homework setting at home or for homeschool kids. Just having a nice quiet room that's quiet through auditory and your hearing, as well as quiet through your vision without a lot of visual distractions around, so the student can stay locked in on the task at hand. Another great accommodation is increasing font size. At size 14 or larger, the bigger the target, then we're lessening the impact of their visual symptoms. Lots of children in vision therapy, when they're reading, they actually see double vision. They see 2 of every letter. They could see really blurry vision when they're reading. They could see letters moving or swimming or floating or wiggling, all kinds of different adjectives and verbs of the way that they see on the page. And that can be lessened when we make the target bigger for them. So there's less visual crowding, the letters don't blend together quite as much. And the last one, just make sure that child's wearing their glasses or contacts if they've been prescribed, and wearing them appropriately. So reading glasses should only be worn during reading time. They can be taken off for recess, they can be taken off for maybe note taking if they have trouble seeing the board in school. They shouldn't have to take their glasses off to see the board and put them back on to read. Stuff like that, versus if the optometrist prescribes full-time glasses, then they should stay on all the time and we're not worried about when they should have them on or off. Keep in mind, these won't fix a learning-related vision problem, but they do reduce the visual challenge on the student's eyes without reducing the academic integrity of what they're learning. The best way to fix these problems is through vision therapy, where we can develop the visual skills that the child is deficient in and translate them into the classroom, where they can use these new visual skills for extended reading periods and extended test taking and studying and things like that. These visual accommodations are recommendations or suggestions more than demands. I'm not telling any teacher what to do with their classroom, and every teacher puts so much effort into how they set up their classroom and teach their students in the best ways. These are just some excellent tools that can make a visually problematic student help them learn better and learn the material that the teacher is presenting to them in a fashion that matches with their current visual skills better. So we encourage you to get an evaluation to find out how vision is interacting with your child's learning ability. And that can be done at your local developmental optometrist or vision therapy practice. And to find one near you, you can go to covd.org and click Locate a Doctor to find a provider who's close to you. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to list them below. And stay tuned for our next video. Thanks a lot.